स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all the religions, the Supreme God Incarnate, who came to establish universal religion. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic I have chosen, great teachings. The saints and sages and Mahatmas are always very eager to help people to develop their good qualities and to inspire people in spiritual path. They always indicate that we should really persevere in our path. First of all, we must hold the spiritual ideal, and we must know very definitely that we have to go in this path and then follow it up without any wavering. So what is most important is that we should develop really our character. It is character that makes person really very good. Swami Vivekananda also used to say, I want character building, life building principles. People are plenty everywhere. But how many people do really are following principles in life? So through simple anecdotes, observing our behavior in our daily life, the sages have found out the method to teach us accordingly. A question was aroused: who is honored more on earth? A very good question indeed, and very pointed question. Who is really honored on this earth? One day, when they were talking together, Lakshmi, the great goddess of wealth, she told Narayan, O Lord, do you see? The entire world is adoring me. Not even 1 in 100. Why? Not even 1 in 1,000,000 he is really worshipping you. So he teased the Lord by this statement. So she put forward a plan to test the sincerity of person. So she said to the Lord, O Lord, it is best to discover for ourselves how true the facts are. Come, let us go into the world and find out the fact. So Narayan agreed. So what he did was, he changed into a great Pandit. He came in the guise of a Pandit, wearing a golden bracelets on his wrists as evidence of the appreciation and admiration of famous academic bodies. He had a garland of Rudraksha beads round the neck, and he had very good thick streaks of vibhuti on the forehead, making a good impression so that people could recognize him at the outset. So he manifested himself as a redoubtable scholar. He moved from village to village and began to draw people through his enrapturing discourses. His splendorous personality and deep scholarship attracted large number of people. Thousands gathered to hear him and followed him from place to place. Brahmins invited him to their settlements and honored him. His place was well recognized by the people. His arrival was celebrated as a festival with real, very good, rich feasting. So all people were extremely happy to see and hear him. So he built up his reputation so well, Narayana in the guise of Pandit. Now, Lakshmi also, she came on this earth as a great yogini, ascetic, great saint. She also went from village to village and enlightening the people on the glory of the Atman through her discourses. Women assembled to hear her fascinating speeches, and large number of people used to attend her discourses. They prayed that she should honor their homes with a visit and partake of the feast they were most eager to offer. In reply, Yogini informed them that she was bound by some vows which made it difficult for her to accept their request. She would not eat out of plates already in use in the homes. That's the condition. And she said that she should be allowed to bring her own cups and plates with her. The women were yearning so deeply for hosting her that they accepted the condition. Whatever her vow, they were ready to respect it. Invitations came from every woman, from every place. So the yogini reached the house where she was to take food the first day and took out from the bag she had with her a gold plate. a few gold cups and a gold tumbler, all gold. These she spread before herself for various items of the menu. When the meal was over, she left the place, leaving the precious golden articles to be taken by the host. She had a new set for each day, she said. So the news spread like wildfire. The villages where Narayan was holding his delightful discourses also heard the wonderful happenings of the yogini's gifts. The Brahmins who were staunch admirers of the scholar, they also rushed to invite the yogini to their homes for lunch. Then the yogini told them that they ought to drive the Pandit out before she could enter their settlement. She would not set foot there as long as the person continued to stay there. She was very firm on that point. People, they are greed for gold. They want gold, not talks. So, naturally, they forced the Pandit, whom they had adored so long and with so much pomp. The same people wanted him to go out of their village. The priority was that Yogini should come to their village. Accordingly, Yogini entered the Brahmin settlement. She gave discourses. She took whatever the food offered in her honor. And as usual, she presented the golden plates and cups to each of her hosts. Thus, she managed to get the Pandit driven out of every place where he sought recognition and attention. Instead, she secured the worship of people everywhere. Unable to bear the universal insult, the Pandit cast off the roll and Narayan disappeared from the earth. The yogini came to know of this. She too gave up the caste she had assumed and resuming her real form, she joined Sri Narayan. Then she told the Lord, "O Lord, now tell me, what did you discover? Who between us is honored most and worshipped more on earth?" Sriman Narayan smiled at her question. He replied, "Yes, what you said is true. You are adored more. The whole world is adoring wealth. They want wealth only, nothing else. But there are good use of the wealth. But the nature of the wealth is such, when people become rich and rich, very few people indeed use the wealth in a proper way. Mostly they develop vicious habits and abuse the money. That's the general trend of the people. So one must really exercise his wisdom when he becomes really wealthy. The point is, one should not be greedy. One should be always helpful and useful, serviceable to the humanity. So whatever wealth a person may have, if he uses it in a proper way, he will get back again in various ways. God doesn't keep anything himself. The law is this is one of the cosmic law. whatever you give will be given back to you double. If you give $1 to the God, you will get $2. I'm just giving example. So to give, that's a very noble quality. Giving is more acceptable than receiving. How far you are charitable, how far you are hospitable, that's the most important quality that we should develop in our life. So the more you come towards God, the more you love towards helping the humanity. So God incarnates Himself on this earth to teach us such noble lessons to us. There's great joy in giving than receiving. Next point is, what indeed is true devotion and who indeed is a true devotee? There are some very good characteristics of a person. Then only that person is confirmed a real devotee. Lord Krishna very nicely describes the characteristics of a good devotee in chapter 12, most very important chapter in the Bhagavad Gita. Who is really called a devotee? That is, who is dear to him. That means whom God really loves. The characteristics are given there. The main characteristic is, you should not hate anyone. The first quality Lord Krishna mentions is Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. Have you developed that quality? If you really develop that quality of not disliking anyone on this earth, then you are dear to God. Then God really loves you. How you will be able to develop that liking for all the beings is only when you cherish the idea that God is living in everyone. Ishvaras sarvabhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati. Lord Krishna clearly says in the Gita, I am dwelling in the hearts of everyone. Not simply Hindu, not simply Christian, not simply Muslim. Everyone, not even human beings, not simply human beings. In all the animals, in plants, in everything. In everything. There is no place, there is no space where there is no God. In fact, it is as if to prove this fact, you know the story of Lord Narasimha. When Hiranyakashipu, the father of the great child Prahlad, he became so angry, he began to behead his own son. He said, you are praising so much Lord Vishnu. You are telling that Lord Vishnu is everywhere. If that is so, does he there in this pillar? If he say in this pillar, let him come and save you. Then he began to draw his sword. Instantly, most astonishingly, through this pillar came out the incarnation of Lord Narasimha. Half human being, head is the head of the lion. A great incarnation, so to say. In order to prove that God can be realized anywhere. What is needed is devotion. If you are devotee, if you are true to your devotion, if you are sincere, if you love Him, you are sure to get Him. So, like that, Lord Krishna describes the characteristics of devotee very nicely. Please read that chapter. Adveshta sarvabhutanam. Maitraha. Be friendly. What a great quality. Be friendly. Karunayevacha. Be compassionate. Nirmamaha. Nirahankaraha. Like that, he gives a big list. The idea is we must rise up from human level to the divine level. When you develop these divine qualities, you become divine. That's the meaning. Once Swami Vivekananda was, while wandering in the country, he came to a certain town. Wherever he would go, he would address the people and teach them some noble ideas. He had a very good personality, robust, good looking, healthy, young, energetic, vigorous, very dynamic, full of confidence. So just you look at him, you love to look at him. It's so inspiring in every respect. That was the personality of Vivekananda. When he addressed the Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893, the whole audience was at the outset impressed by his personality. At the outset, just by seeing him, they were wonderstruck. Who is this great person? Looking so bright, full of energy, shining, beaming, with smile, full of compassion in his face. They were all thrilled, really. Of course, when they heard him talk, dear sisters and brothers of America, when he addressed them, they could not control their emotions. The whole audience in the Parliament, at the Art Institute, where the Art Institute stands now, same place, they stood up and clapped for 7 minutes. 6,000 to 7,000 people were there. All of them were clapping and clapping. They could not control their emotion. So that is something very special. That is special attraction. It's called divine attraction. Divine attraction. People come to get blessings from such person. So, when Vivekananda was going from town to town, wandering in India, people would come in great numbers. They would recognize him as a great monk, and they found him to be a great scholar. Whatever subject he would speak so vehemently, so clearly. So they listened to his talks with utmost attention. And 3 days continuously people were enamored by his talks, and they were totally drawn towards his discourses. And every day, at the close of the discourse, people would come and ask questions, and they would love to converse with him. Nobody ever thought, what is this? Swamiji is continuously talking. Has he taken food? Nobody inquired about that. But there was an old man in a corner observing Swami Vivekananda. He was there all the 3 days, waiting for a chance to be near the monk. On the 3rd day, this old man made bold, went to him and said, "My dear son, I am watching you all these days. Continuously, non-stop, you are talking and inspiring people. People coming and asking all questions. But nobody has ever thought whether you have taken any food. Shall I bring you something to eat? Please." "I shall run and be back with food and drink for you." Swami Vivekananda was greatly touched by the loving words spoken by this man. He said with a beaming smile, "Come, let us go together to your place to eat and drink." So, blessed indeed was this person, for he had sympathy and consideration for a fellow human being. He was ready to render loving service to the monk. This indeed is true devotion, and he is indeed a true devotee. If we observe the life and teachings of the great persons, you understand so many things. But the point is, we don't read properly with attention. We should definitely read some good books like this to inspire your life, to guide you in spiritual and moral values. It's very important. If you really like it, you can find time. So time is always there. Only liking should be there. If you like it, you can do it. Once Bhishma asked Yudhishthira, Bhishma told Yudhishthira, these two, namely, one that provides for the future and one possessed of presence of mind, always enjoys happiness. The man of procrastination, however, is lost. So, in order to make him understand his teaching, he told an excellent story. In a lake, it was not very deep, full of fishes. There lived 3 Sakula fishes, a particular species, that were friends and constant companions. Among us those three, one had much forethought and always liked to provide for what was coming. The second one was possessed of great presence of mind. The third one was procrastinating. These three were living together, but these three have different features. One day, a certain fisherman, coming to that lake, he began to bail out its waters to a lower ground through diverse outlets. Seeing the waters of the lake gradually decreasing, the fish that had much foresight, addressing his two companions on that occasion of danger, warned, a great danger is about to overtake all the aquatic creatures living in this lake. So let us speedily go to some other place before our path becomes obstructed. He that resists future evil by the help of good policy never incurs serious danger. Let my counsels prevail with you. Let us all leave this place. The one amongst the three who was procrastinating answered, "It is well said. There is, however, no need of such a haste. This is my deliberate opinion." Then the other fish, which was noted for the presence of mind, addressed his procrastinating companion and said, when the time for anything comes, I never fail to provide for it according to policy. Hearing the answers of his two companions, he of great forethought and considerable intelligence immediately set out by a current and reached another deep lake. The fisherman, seeing that all the water had been bailed out, shut in the fishes that remained by diverse means. Then they began to agitate the little water that remained, and as they began to catch the fish, the procrastinating Shakula was caught with many others. When the fishermen began to tie to a long string the fishes they had caught, the Shakula, who was noted for presence of mind, thrust himself into the company of those that had been so tied and remained quietly among them, biting the string, for he thought that he should do it to give the appearance of being caught. The fishermen believed that all the fishes attached to the string had been caught. They then removed them to a piece of deep water for washing them. Just at that time the Sakula, noted for presence of mind, leaving the string, quickly escaped. That fish, however, who had been procrastinating, foolish and senseless, and without intelligence as he was, and therefore unable to escape, met with death. Thus everyone meets with destruction, like the procrastinating fish, who from want of intelligence cannot divine the hour of danger. That man, again, who regarding himself clever, does not seek his own good in proper time, incurs great danger, like the Shakula, who had presence of mind. Hence these two only, namely, he that has much forethought and he that has presence of mind, succeed in obtaining happiness. He, however, that is procrastinating meets with destruction. Diverse are the divisions of time. The divisions of the earth are called place. Time cannot be seen. As regards the success of any object or purpose, it is achieved or not achieved, according to the manner in which the mind is set to think of it. These two, namely the person of forethought and the person of presence of mind, have been declared by the rishis to be the foremost of men in all treatises on morality and profit and in those dealing with emancipation. One, however, that does everything after reflection and scrutiny, one that avails oneself of proper means for the accomplishment of one's objects, always succeeds in achieving much. Those again that act with due regard to time and place succeed in winning results better than the mere man of foresight and the man of presence of mind. So like that, there are many lessons for us to learn. How we should utilize our time, our energy, our resources in a proper way before it is too late. The weakness of man is he thinks of doing right when the time is already passed on. He can't do anything. Even if he wants to do things, he cannot do because he has lost all his energy, all his vigor, health, everything has gone. So when he has become pretty old, he thinks of improving himself, which is too difficult. There is another story which has got a very great lesson for us to learn. Once Lord Shiva and his consort Parvati, they were travelling with their vehicle, bull. Nandi is the vehicle. Nandi Vahan, Parameshwar. So Nandi, the Lord had taken the form of an old man, while Parvati remained young and beautiful. So they were passing on the road. All the people looked on with amazement at this odd couple of an old man and a young woman. On the way, Lord Shiva said, Parvati, please sit and ride on the bull during this journey. She obeyed and mounted the bull while Shiva walked alongside. The village folk and other strangers looking at this sight, they began to criticize severely. What a selfish woman. She is young and healthy, and yet she chooses to comfortably ride while forcing the old man to walk. That's the criticism. Shiva changed his mind. Parvati, look, people are mocking you. It is wiser that I shall sit and you walk. So saying, Shiva sat on the bull's back. They went along. Then another set of people, they came with sharper comments. Look at this mean bully of a man. He is so strong and robust. He enjoys the ride while forcing this young and gentle lady to walk on foot. Hearing this, both of them climbed the bull. At least this would ward off the criticisms. Look at the fun now. But they were gravely mistaken, and no sooner had they come to the next village, the people looking at them began to jeer and began to make remarks. Look at this nasty couple. Both of them have mercilessly climbed upon the bull. They will kill the poor creature. Now, there was only one option left. They dismounted and allowed the bull to walk freely. They accompanied it on either side. While they were walking this way, another group of people they saw, they began to criticize with new bitterness. They laughed at them, shouting, "What foolishness! They have taken a bull as a vehicle and neither of them is using it." Straight away, Shiva told Parvati, "Come, let us do what we think is right and live the way we want to. The world will never appreciate or see what we do as correct. In this world, even if we perform a good deed, not everyone will like it and support it. The problem lies with the nature of our world. If a Mahatma shows miracles, people say he is into black magic and he possesses evil powers. He is a witch. Like that they make remarks. Suppose he avoids miracles. People criticize, "Oh, he has no powers, no miracles. He is very ordinary. He is of no use for us." This is the line of thinking our world works on. It is crooked from both ends. And whatever you do, the world will never see you straight. So, what is the lesson? Pay no attention to the words of the worldly people, but continue to devoutly worship God. That's all. Never look into what this man says, what that man says, how he looks, how she looks. Don't care for those things. Look to yourself, correct yourself, march on. March on till the goal is reached. Stop not. Rise awake, stop not till the goal is reached. Uttishtata jagrata prapyavara nibodhata. The great teaching of the Kathopanishad. Then only we are sure to reach the goal. If you have too many stops in the middle, you will never reach the goal at all. Rather, you may miss the track also. So, one has to be really very careful every moment of the life. That's the point that we should know. There once lived a Seth who was a very wealthy businessman. Next to him lived a poor man who sweated out his whole day in hard labor. In fact, his whole family, wife and children, worked hard at menial jobs. They were doing odd jobs. Whatever they earned, they spent. After their daily supper, they would relax and pray to God. Then retire comfortably to sleep. Next morning, they would rise, pray to God and go off to work. This was almost everyday routine. With all these difficulties, they were content, they were happy, and they were relaxed. On the other hand, the wealthy Seth was always edgy, hasty and tense. He would not even spend money on decent food. His only desire was to earn money, to collect more and more of it. And so he never found time free to relax or enjoy life. One day the Seth's wife complained, look at the poor man and his family next door. Look at them. They earn very little, yet they live happily. They eat well, they pray well, and they enjoy life together. Whereas we have so much wealth, yet we enjoy not a moment of peace. The Seth replied, he has not encountered force 99. And so he lives peacefully. What is force 99? The wife inquired. I will show you soon when the time comes. The Seth answered. That very night, the Seth packed a small bag with 99 rupees and threw it into the hut of his neighbor. Next morning, when the family awoke, they saw the bag. They opened it and counted the money. Then the couple thought, if we save 1 rupee, then it would make a complete 100. From then onwards, to save that 1 rupee, they began to cut down on food to save money. When after some days a rupee was saved, they thought, if we work hard like this, we should be able to save 100 rupees every year. And so their greed grew. They began work before sunrise and returned home late in the dark. They began to eat less and cheap junky food and even stopped their daily prayers. The Seth's wife noticed this and remarked, the laborers are no longer to be seen in their home. They never relax or pray. What on earth has happened to him? What on earth has happened to them? The Seth explained, did I not tell you that when force 99 hits you, this happens? They have just been struck by force 99. If he is struck by force 99, the drive to just earn money, to gather more and more, we lose our peace. Hence, he who is content and satisfied is the wealthiest of all. Aniketaha santushto anikena chit. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, santushtaha, be satisfied and contented. That is the spiritual quality that you must cherish in your mind. Then you will be really happy. Whatever you have, be happy with it. There was a Muslim prince whose name was Ibrahim. In a small kingdom in Persia. He was very pious and spent many hours a day at prayer. He said his prayers in a beautiful gem-studded chapel of his palace. One day, while praying, he heard a terrible noise above him on the roof. It sounded like the clattering of horses' hoofs. Rushing out, he looked up to the roof, and sure enough, there was his palace guard, 20 men on horseback. In such countries, the roofs usually are flat. What in the world are you doing up there? Ibrahim shouted. Your Majesty, the captain of the guard cried, we are searching for our camels that have wandered away. But why, O fools, are you searching camels on the palace roof? Asked the prince. We are only following the example of your Majesty, who seeks for God while living in all the luxuries and powers of a royal palace. Came the reply. The prince also had a charitable nature. He arranged a place where wandering beggars and holy men could come and receive free food and drink on one of the porches of the palace. This facility closed, however, at nightfall, and no one was allowed inside the palace after dark. One day, a tall, strong man of radiant appearance arrived just at sunset and asked for food. When he had eaten his fill, he told the guard that as he had nowhere else to stay, he wished to spend the night in the screened porch. The guard told him it was against the rule and asked him to leave at once. I demand to see the master of this rest house, and I will not leave until I do, said the stranger. This is not a rest house, and His Majesty is saying his prayers, the guard replied. So the argument went on until finally the servant went to the door of his master's chapel and knocked. There is a beggar on the porch, sir, who calls the palace a rest house and refuses to leave. He insists on speaking to your Majesty. The prince was astonished. Let me just go and hear this madman, and went out to the end of the porch. They met, the prince and the beggar. You have heard the rule of this palace, said the prince. Why have you not left as others do? Why have you not left as others do? This is a rest house, the beggar replied. The night is chill, and I wish to spend it here under your Majesty's protection. What do you mean a rest house? Said Ibrahim. Do you not see that it is a palace? The beggar asked, did you build the palace? The prince said, certainly not, I have not, but I have inherited it. Did your father build it then? Not even he. His father's father built it long ago. And each of these has come and gone, passed through this palace and out of it again. Of course, said the prince impatiently, and you too will do the same. You too will also leave the place and go. Yet you say it is not a rest house. The eyes of Ibrahim's understanding were opened. He brought the wise man into the palace, and the two talked long into the night. When Prince Ibrahim one day looked from his palace window, he saw near the brook a beggar dressed in rags, weary and hungry, pulling from his knapsack a chunk of stale bread. The man dipped this in the water, sprinkled some salt on it, and hungrily devoured it. Then he lay down on a hard ground and fell asleep. After some time, Ibrahim sent a messenger to ask the man to come and meet him at the palace gate. The beggar, in wonder, stumbled to the gate. The prince asked him if he had eaten to his satisfaction. Praise God, sir, I did. Then he was asked if he had slept peacefully on the ground. Indeed, I did, sir, because I have no worries. Thanks be to God. It is said that Ibrahim, comparing the wanderer's life with his own, so full of anxiety, thought deeply about his own unhappiness with life. That very night, he changed his royal robes for cast-off rags, and leaving his family and palace, went out to a life of poverty and wandering. So his inner spirit was awakened by the wisdom of this beggar. So in nature, God has provided us everything. But we have to be wise enough to choose what is good for us and follow it up. And it is like that only we have to reach the goal. We have to make personal efforts. We should continue to cultivate good habits, develop our character, follow the instructions of the holy people, be contented, and that will lead you to real peace and happiness. Thank you. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. May the Lord protect us, may He nourish us, may our knowledge be fruitful and enlightened, may we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.